Peace, Universal Family. This is Brother Dooley, aka the Beantown Ghetto Shaman. I'm on my lunch break. I just finished doing a quick set of Qigong and Tai Chi exercises, which I really needed to do, because I was up late last night working on some rhymes and stuff, getting back to my lyrical. And so I had to wake up early for work this morning. I was like, oh man, I'm tired. So for those out here that don't like to indulge in the coffee and all that, Qigong and Tai Chi is a great exercise to boost your energy. Because I was real tired this morning, and then I was like, okay, let me do this, boost my energy up. So I just finished doing that, and I wanted to do this special video for y'all, you know what I mean? First and foremost, I want to big up my homeboy Wallace Hopkins. I think I said his last name right. He just made this wonderful piece, and he sent it to a brother the other day in the mail. As you can see, this is an Orgonite piece, a wonderful Orgonite piece representing the Olmec heads. And the Olmec, for those who might not know on a historical level, you're looking at the ancient mound builders, or you're looking at the ancient big stone heads that you would see throughout the Americas, Mexico, and different places. And these are the indigenous blacks that actually ushered in the Mayan and the Aztec cultures. But this was the foundation, the Olmecs. And this dude got mad crystals in this and stuff, man. So big up to him. He's from Detroit. Check him out. He's on Facebook. Definitely support all the artists out there that are putting in the work, and he also made this joint for me too, which is it says alchemy on there. It got the different crystals in there and stuff with the caduceus, which is nothing but just representing, it's the medical symbol, but really represents the esoteric symbol behind it. It's the spine, the spinal cord, and having the kundalini energy, or the spiritual energy, going up the spine with the two central channels, you know what I mean? So yeah, check them out. Orgonite, check out Orgonite. Look it up. It's great to wear this type of jewelry because it's sacred jewelry. It's sacred stones and stuff that can help you during this time when people are being hit with the cell phone towers, with all kind of negative radiation and all these different frequencies, which is not good for our health, especially for the cell phones, you know what I mean? So having these crystals, different stones around you, this is old science, but this is jewelry with a purpose, not just to look fly, but to keep you healthy also. So I want to entitle this video, first of all, if I didn't introduce myself, for those who might not know who I am, my name is Brother Dooley, also known as the Beantown Ghetto Shaman. I wanted to make this video because I was thinking about this while I was at work before I came on break. And I was like, yo, I want to make a video on some of the spiritual the spiritual stories, real life situations I heard from other people, and all this, also the stuff that I went through so far in my life, you know what I mean? And I thought about this because I had a client yesterday, right? I do natural healings with people. I'm an energetic healer, been doing that over 12 years. Also, I'm a massage therapist, do a lot of different things. But I had a client yesterday, and this particular client, her brother is dying of cancer, unfortunately. So she came in, her vibration was very low, and I could tell she was very sad, and she kind of told me what was going on. So kind of to switch the whole energy around, she's really into sci-fi, and she's really into supernatural type of things, spiritual things and stuff. So I kind of switched the conversation up, and it was kind of surrounding a lot some of the mystical experiences I had over the years. So with that conversation, I was still thinking about that from yesterday, and I was like, yo, may share this with the family out there, you know what I mean? So there's a couple of real life situations I'm gonna share with y'all, but I have not got the permission from some of these people to share their stories, so I will not use their name in a level of privacy for them. But first, I'll start off with me, and there's been a lot of supernatural or very interesting things that has happened to me over the years. And one thing that where people start really calling me the ghetto shaman, and I know there's another ghetto shaman in New York. When I first met Red Pill so many years ago, this is like had to be like I don't know when I met Red, about 6-7 years ago. I'm up there walking from New York, and I come across a brother. I was like, yo, Red. And we was building and stuff. And I remember I was like, yeah, they called me the ghetto shaman. And he's like, yeah, it was ghetto shaman here, da 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 da. So I understand there's a ghetto shaman or urban shaman in every hood. You know what I mean? We're all over the place. But I distinguish where I'm from by saying I'm the Beantown ghetto shaman, But long story short, people started calling me ghetto shaman for many reasons. And one was that I started to start cars on the street with my chi or with my energy. Now, I've been doing Qi Kong and Tai Chi, which is the cultivation of energy, for almost over 20 years now, about 21 years. I really started getting into it in my teenage years, and my father was really the one that introduced me to Tai Chi and Qi Kong. But and then I start getting into Reiki when I was working at this metaphysical bookstore, and just learning about energy healing on that level just changed my life. I could go on stories for days on so many things that have happened to me over the years with the sacred energy. But one day I started a car with this brother who was on the street. His car wasn't starting, and long story short, I used the sacred chi energy and put my hands on his hood and visualized this chi energy going directly into his battery, going directly into his engine, and boom, the car started, and I'll never forget that the dude that was there, he was stuck there for a minute. He was surprised that the whole thing happened, So me being me, because we live in this time, this age where the Hindus would call it Kali Yuga, or the Iron Age, or this very dense, low age that we're in vibrationally, we're not used to going beyond our five senses. Especially most people here in America, we're conditioned to think that there's only these five senses, touch, smell, taste, all these other things, but we're not trained to understand, or we're not aware that there's many things other than those five senses that we can tap into. So even though I had that experience, there was that logical left brain that came in. It's like, well, maybe that was a coincidence, maybe something, and that happened, So I had another opportunity once again, to start a car, and these brothers was on the street and their car wasn't starting, and I was able to start the car with putting my finger that time directly on the battery. So that's, in a nutshell, some of these stories start coming around in the street, and they was like, yo, dude, that's the ghetto shaman right there. So these things continue, and there's one story I want to relate to y'all, which I call these guys the little gremlins, or the interdimensional fairy type genome type beings. And when you look at different cultures, you have different cultures around the world that would talk about these little type of these little trickster beings, different names for different cultures. But I'll give you a quick rundown of what happened. Basically, at this time, this had to be about 9, almost 10 years ago, and at this time I was in college. I got a scholarship at Northeastern University. So I was over there studying art, studying theater, different things. So I'm into art and all that. And I'm in, at that time I'm living actually in the dorm. And that day I go visit one of my sisters, and I'm over there chilling with the family. And I decided to do some Tai Chi and some Qi Kong in her living room, in my sister's living room that day. Now, I had this bracelet that I really liked, that was from Tibet, and it had this engraving of this mantra called Mani Padme Hum, which is connected to Chenrizi, which is a bodhisattva or a enlightened being, or what we would call an angelic presence that serves humanity, that helps humanity, right? So I had this mantra or this type of bracelet, and I really liked it. So when I'm about to start my exercise, I put this bracelet on my sister's dresser, right? So I'm doing my exercise, boom, boom, boom. After I finish my exercise, I look on the table and my bracelet's not there on the dresser. So I asked all my nephews and nieces, and I was like, yo, who took Uncle's bracelet? You know what I mean? Whoever got it, give it to me, whatever. They all swore up and down. They said, no one touched your bracelet, Uncle. So I told my mom that day, I remember saying to her, I was like, if you find the bracelet, please put it up so that none of the kids will play with it, da-da-da. My mom's like, cool. I go back to the dorm that evening, go to sleep, wake up the next morning. Normal day, getting ready for school, you know what I mean? Jump in the shower, come back to get dressed. I look on, and when I come back out of the shower, I see my bracelet that was at my sister's, that I lost at my sister's. I see it laying on my bed. Now, that was a little strange for me because, again, we're going into that 5 sense limited reality of how we look at things on this side of the earth. And my logical left brain starts to try to kick in again. And so I was like, well, maybe Dooley, maybe you just had it in your pocket and you slept with it, and and it fell out and you didn't know while you was making the bed. So I was like, nah. Then my other side of the brain, left and right hemisphere, fighting with each other. It's like, nah, that's impossible. Because first of all, Negro, you don't sleep with your pants on. So how is that gonna work like that? So guess what? Because I couldn't figure it out logically, I just brushed it aside. I was like, you know what? I ain't even gonna think about this. I'm just gonna go to class, do my thing. So I go to class, come back from class, and there's a message on my phone. The message on my phone is my mother. She called, and on the message she says, Abdul, that's my real name, that's the government name. She says, Abdul. She says, I found your bracelet. Your bracelet, I found it. I put it on the shelf in your sister's bathroom. Call me, so you could go get your bracelet. Now I'm listening to this message on the phone while looking at my bracelet on my arm. So I was like, okay, now this is getting a little more strange. So I called my mom's and I say, yo, Mom, I got the message that you found my bracelet. I didn't tell her that I had it, that I found it, that it was on my bed that morning in my dorm. So she's like, yeah. I was like, Mom, can you go in the bathroom and go get it for me? She said, yeah, sure. She goes, she puts her phone down for a second. She goes in the bathroom to go get the bracelet, right? She comes back on the phone and she says, that's strange. I put it there earlier today. It's not there. I was like, Mom, because I seen it on my bed this morning. My mom was like, you know what? That's nothing to be excited about, Abdul. You know what I mean? She says, when you start getting more deeper into your spiritual self, these type of things are going to happen, So it was another situation, 2 other situations happened like that before. But I'll leave that for another video because I want to share some other things from my other friends that happened to them, right? So, but I call them the interdimensional gremlins. And the thing about these beings is that they get a kick out of toying with humans, you know what I mean? Or toying with the particular beings in this dimension, you know what I mean? And I notice because a lot of beings that are in other dimensions, some of them don't eat physical food like we do. Some of them eat other essences, which some eat our emotions. Some of us directly have a connection to them in their realm through our feelings, right? So some of them actually feed off of our emotions, be it our fears, be it the level of anger, be it the level of being scared or whatever, and that's a level of nourishment. Now, some people say, Dooley, how can that work? What are you talking about? Well, we don't even have to get so esoteric with some beings on another dimension. We could see that being played out here amongst each other right here in the third dimension. They're called energy vampires. You know what I mean? And if you don't think that that doesn't exist, it does. There's people that actually know how to steal the life force out of you. And if you're not careful, you could be a victim of that. You know what I mean? And I've might as well tell this story since I'm talking about that. There was a person that I used to work with, okay? And this is when I used to work at this this metaphysical bookstore called Unicorn Books. Great bookstore. It was great times when I used to work there. Met a lot of great people, a lot of authors that would come out of town doing book signings and stuff. And there was one guy that worked there who was a victim of energy vampirism. This guy, he used to also, he before he worked there, he used to work, I believe, in the downtown area of, if it was Harvard Square, I'm not sure. But I'm not sure on the details of that. But he had one of those carts where he was selling merchandise, right? So he said a woman came up to his cart one day. And this woman was pretending like she was trying to buy something or interested in buying something. And she was just standing next to him, right? Looking at stuff for a couple of seconds or minutes or whatever. Then before she walks away, she says to him, by the way, thank you for lunch. And walks off. As she literally walks off, this guy that I used to work with, he said he felt so weak, like his energy was gone, and he literally fell out on the ground. You know what I mean? When he got up, he realized that he got Vic, that he got mugged for his life force energy. And this stuff actually is real, and it happens. Particularly if you look at you could look up something called there was some Taoist masters that were actually looking at the concept of immortality. And some of these guys that knew how to manipulate the energy, or the chi, which they call in China, ki in Japan, prana in India, different names for this life force energy. Some of these Taoist masters would do things like go through forests and literally drain the forest of its life force energy. Or you would hear about some of these guys wanting to get these young maidens or these virgins and have these young girls just sleeping with them, not having sex with them at night, but they would literally have them around them so they could drain them of their energy. This is real stuff. You could look it up. But of course, it's not to get all scary, because when you start to empower yourself, you start to learn how to be able to reclaim your energy. And there's different techniques to help put a shield up. So when you do come across a vamp, they won't be like at you. You know what I mean? So yeah, everyone eats, you know, and different people eat in different ways. You know what I mean? You have people that are actually what they call breatharians. You know what I mean? For those who look up this guy named I forgot the guys. Well, one guy you could look up, his name is Genesis Sunfire. He's a brother who actually lives off the nourishment of the sun. All right. He was a fruitarian first, and then it adapted to being able to take the essence from the sun. You know what I mean? And when you look at energy, a lot of people, that's what we do when we eat food. It's not so much, yeah, we have the pleasure component to it, that yum, 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 this tastes good and stuff. But then the true purpose of eating food is to take energy from it. And most of the foods that we get, particularly the fruits and the vegetable, they're infused with the sun. So Genesis Sunfire, they had this other guy, an Indian brother, who's not eating physical food for years. I think almost 30 years. And NASA is studying this guy. I think he goes by the acronym HRM. All right. And then NASA's trying to study this guy so they could have longer trips out in space without the need of so-called depending on the food. You know what I mean? So this is a real reality. We all eat in different ways. And if you don't want to be someone on the food chain of someone in another dimension, or even someone in your own dimension, you got to learn how to empower yourself and have control of your own energy and cultivate your own energy. Another story. This is a great sister. I have so much respect for this sister. I love this sister so much. And she's so deep. Her and her husband, amazing people. And I had the opportunity to go to one of my good friends' birthday celebration a couple of weeks ago. And she was talking about her family, you know, and talking about how her whole family levitates. This is a particular gift within their family, you know what I mean? And for some of those in my Reiki classes, I've talked about this woman before, and but I never knew her brother and her other sister and her mom had this experience as well. And this sister, what she shared with folks is that she was running real early in the morning, and she had this runner's high that she was going through, right? And at that point, she was getting in this zone. She literally levitated off the ground for a couple of seconds. She was running so fast. Next thing you know, she came off the ground a couple of inches for a couple of seconds. She was freaked out to the point that she was doubting what just happened. Again, we're not used to going beyond these five senses. And she's looking around like, yo, you know, did that just happen? Did someone just see this? She goes home and she tells her mother what happened. And her mother's response was deep, because her mother was like, yo, that ain't nothing. You know what I mean? I did the same thing when I was in my 20s. You know, this runs in our family. You know what I mean? So she shared this with us. Her sister was there that day. Her sister shared that she had a similar experience. She said her sister almost got hit by a car. And when she almost got hit, she literally levitated over the car. There was a woman that was across the street that seen the whole thing and was bugged out, freaked out. You know what I mean? Their brother had the same experience. He was running real quick too. He got in that runner zone and he closed his eyes for a second. Next thing you know, he said he felt this branch hit him on the head. He opened his eyes. Next thing you know, he was in a tree. You know what I mean? So again, for those who might be very new to this type of information or looking at reality in a whole different light, they might say, wow, this stuff sounds totally nuts. And yeah, I expect for some people to listen to this and say this sounds totally nuts, because we've been trained to look at things in a certain way. You know what I mean? When you go to other parts of the world where it's more isolated, not so congested in these big cities, these type of things is an everyday phenomena. For instance, what I'm talking about in India, they call these things siddhis, S-I-D-D-H-I. And basically these are what they call supernatural abilities that are natural to everybody when you actually learn to do meditation, when you actually learn how to still your mind and be able to empower yourself. When you start to go deeper and deeper inside yourself, you start to reveal all kinds of things about yourself that you never knew. All right. Like, for instance, in Tibet, you know, around the early 2000s, I was studying Tibetan Buddhism. And I learned a lot through that particular school of thought. And I had one particular teacher during that time. His name is Garchen Rinpoche. Garchen Rinpoche is an elder in this documentary you could find on YouTube. I think it's called The Secrets of the Himalayan Masters or something like that. But it's all these monks and nuns coming out the woodworks revealing certain secrets or certain deep meditation practices that were kept secret only amongst them circles, but shared with the world now, because we're going through great changes and they don't want these things to die off with these elders. So they're figuring this is the time. All right. Garchen Rinpoche in that particular video talks about the inner heat practice, or what they call tumo. And tumo is when you start to manipulate your body temperature to the point where National Geographic showed this, where these Europeans went with these Tibetan men to the high Himalayan mountains. And they left these meditation masters overnight in super freezing weather where an average person would die. but they were able to sit through the night in this meditative state because they knew how to rise their body temperature, where an average person would have died. You know what I mean? Garchin Rinpoche also, I remember, I'll never forget the time where I was at this meditation gathering, and he had an interpreter tell me about this technique that they call the fast running technique, where they put these particular mantras, magical mantras, on their feet, and these guys run at the speed, high speed, like you would see in a Jedi, like boom, 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 over these mountains and stuff. They also have a practice that's known in Tibet, known as the rainbow body technique, which is which many masters have been documented to turn their body into light at the time of their death. And they have a documented case almost over 160,000 cases in Tibet alone, where these masters would speed up their vibration to the point that their body literally goes into light. All right. It's called the rainbow body technique. All right. And so it's deep, and I'm running out of time on this video, but I wanted to share with y'all to just give reminders to people out there that there's much more to us, that we don't have to be victims, that we don't have to be victims of this system or this matrix or this Babylon or samsara or what have you. You can awaken. We can have what we call self-liberation, or self-mastery, awakening, having a sense of inner awakening, so we won't be subject to the craziness that's around us. You could surpass that. For those who might, want more evidence to see that this is real, look up the African avatars. Brother Sheikh Amadou Bamba from Senegal, who, they try to put a hit on his life almost 250 something times. They couldn't kill him to no avail. Look up Dagon Simio Toko from the Congo. These guys are what would you call your modern day X-Men. Just read about their life, man. It's amazing what we're capable of doing when we cut out all the distractions and really to look inside. All right. Peace, one love. This is Brother Dooley. I care for y'all. I love for y'all. Keep on growing. Peace.